Basement Politics, Unfiltered with Freddy Vazquez. Tonight, deception, delays, and Diaz. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Freddy Vazquez here with another episode of Basement Politics Unfiltered. I want to just say once again, if you didn't check my interview out on Yonkers Voice, check it out. Speak a little bit about the show, some of the content that I have on the show. It was a good interview. A lot of people liked it, and I was reminded of it today as I went and got my hair cut. Can you tell? Yeah. So people talked about it, said they actually played it at the barbershop. I felt a little embarrassed, but they said it was good. So check it out. And one of the things we talked about was Councilwoman Tasha Diaz. And the question that was asked of me by Yonkers Voice, Ruros, was regarding the ordinance and her voting no to override the mayor's veto. And could it have been possibly that she made a mistake, or she didn't understand, or maybe she realized something a little bit later, and that was why she changed her mind. I didn't think so. I think that there was a game that was being played there from the beginning. I think that that was the reason why Councilman Rubio changed his opinion, or changed his vote to yes, surprisingly, back in June, just before the primaries, and then again to no back when it was time to override the veto. I wanted to play a video here from Yonkers Voice interview. Well, anyway, but really quick, he asked me, Rubio asked me if I had watched the interview he recently did with the councilwoman, and I said no, I did not. But I went and watched it, and that prompted me to watch some other videos. So I wanted to share a video now really quick with you, and then just kind of go over that.
Did go into chambers, but before entering into chambers, I was under the impression that we were not going to take a vote on it, that we were going to all come back to the table and come to some kind of agreement as to a comfortable number. Because let's go back. When we first voted for 20%, I never got a seat at the table when this legislation was drafted. So when it was brought forth, I explained that, I didn't get a seat at the table. I didn't get to say so. And I was under the impression that once we voted for the 20%, if it was vetoed, that we would come to the table and that we would be able to talk about it. Those talks never happened. Instead, those talks happened with certain organizations. And I still wasn't able to get a seat at the table. So now going forward, fast forward, the night of the vote, I was under the impression, like the meeting prior, we were going to wait for everybody to come with a comprehensive plan that we.
And you can see John Rubio there on his cell phone, as usual. Always catch him on his cell phone on the council meetings. Anybody else notice that? Anyway, according to Tasha Diaz, and I'm going to play another video of the recent interview she did on the Yonkers Voice. According to Tasha Diaz, one of the reasons why she voted no to override the veto was because she was not given a seat at the table, whatever that means. And why didn't you request a seat at the table? She mentions a certain community organization, and I believe she's talking about Community Voices Heard. Community Voices Heard was very instrumental in the new ordinance. Shout out to Keisha Skipper, who was instrumental along with Community Voices Heard, and I'm sure others, in getting the ordinance to include an increase from 10% to 20%. And I believe that's the organization she was talking about. But what do you mean that you were not given a seat at the table? Are you not a council member? Did you not say, hey, what's going on here before we go vote? I need to read this. I need to see what's going on? And did you not read it from the get-go? I mean, there were months and months that you had that went by that you could have read it. So I don't understand what she means by that. And then all of a sudden she seems confused. Um, she said that there was supposed to be. She also kind of tried to blame Mike Cater somehow. She said Tasha said that there was supposed to be a leader and there was no leader. It's supposed to be a caucus and we're supposed to be led, and that didn't happen. And again, it just sounds like a bunch of just excuses. There was some reason why all of a sudden she didn't want to override the veto and did not want the ordinance to pass. But I believe, and I said this from the beginning, that they knew the mayor was going to veto the bill. So they knew that they were going to have to come back to make a decision whether or not to vote to override it. So when they were saying yes to begin with, in particular John Rubio, when he changed his vote to yes during the primaries, it was all a game. I told someone this, and it happened. And they said, "You were right, Freddie." And I said, "Well, I saw it." You can see the moves that they make. Anyway, John Rubio also is there sitting next to Tasha Diaz, and I find it interesting that the two of them have been, buddy. He has been over at Serrato Park on Riverdale handing out food with her. I've seen him numerous times. He is the chair of the real estate committee. Let's not forget that. But I want to play his part, and I want you to hear what John Rubio has to say as to why he went from no to yes. And by the way, the lights go out. I thought that was interesting.
They happen, or you go in there blinded, don't know, and all of a sudden, let's vote.
In some instances, that does happen. That we go in and there's supposed to be a caucus, there's supposed to be a leader that's supposed to lead us, and that hasn't been done. That has not been displayed.
I'm sorry.
John, do you mind saying a few things?
Sure. So I know it got a little dark, and thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me on. Thank you, Tasha. We'll make sure we get the lights back on so it's nice and bright here. When we, what I've tried to do is be as transparent with the community and the city and all of the stakeholders from the beginning. My point of view on affordable housing has been very clear. I did not believe that 20% was necessarily the number that would work for Yonkers. And that does not mean that I'm not for affordable housing or pro affordable housing, or I want to see more affordable housing built. I do. I want to see all those things happen. My dream, my vision for this ordinance was to have more programming, to have more involved. And so I like to think of it as, go big or go home on this ordinance, and not necessarily in terms of the percentage of affordable that we'll build in market rate buildings, but really, in what we could do for our community. Several people in the community have said this. I spoke to someone yesterday.
So he says that, he voted on it just before the primaries because he wanted to indicate that he knows that there is a need for affordable housing. Well, we all do. I mean, according to the Westchester Housing Assessment, it's an emergency. There is a housing crisis. You're not telling us anything that we don't know, and I'm glad that you are aware that there is a need for affordable housing. So what are you doing about it? You have an opportunity to do something, and you don't. You voted yes initially in June, just before the primaries. Why? Because you were in an election. You were running against Carlos Burgos. It was a very close race, considering Carlos Burgos was not politically known or experienced, and he did very well. He actually did better than the person you ran against in the general election. Got more voice than she did, Honora. So was that all a game that John played? He needed people to see that he's for affordable housing. Look, you know what? I'm going to vote for it. Yes, I'm for it. They had a super majority pretty much, 5-2. They had to just keep that going, and they would have had the affordable housing increase. He says he didn't. He ended up voting no to override the veto because it wasn't comprehensive enough. It didn't include more programming. He's very vague. What does that mean? It didn't include more programming. and he wanted to go big or go home. 20% was going big. That was a huge number. And many knew that it was, not very likely, but the point was to negotiate to a number that everyone could live with and that would increase the affordable housing stock. When he mentions programming, he's talking about rental assistance, vouchers, Section 8, and other programming that refer to low-income housing, not affordable housing. Affordable housing are for individuals who do not qualify for rental assistance programming. Why are we mixing the two? Either way, there's a crisis that needs to be addressed today. And it needed to be brought up so we can increase the housing stock. What is their suggestion? Right? What is John Rubel's suggestion? They want to see that the existing housing stock be utilized for affordable housing developments. Basically, take property that we have now so we can give the lots and the empty land and the nice property by the river to the market rate developers. Let's rehab the old properties that are dilapidated. You know what? Maybe that's not a bad idea if it'll help increase the housing stock. However, that takes time. These developers are building buildings now. Their units ready now. What would it take for you to actually go around the city of Yonkers assessing property that you can potentially rehab into affordable housing that will be safe enough for those people who need it to inhabit these buildings? How old are they? What conditions are they in? Should they just be knocked down? And how long is that going to take? Then how long is it going to take to have them ready if they are even in a condition that they can be rehabbed? That's going to take so long. It's going to take years. It's going to take years. And this could have addressed the issue, well, not completely, but at least began to address the issue now. Housing is needed now. It's a crisis. According to the Westchester County, there's a crisis. And you can go read the housing assessments right on the page, Westchester County page. I don't understand it. We need more programming. Go big or go home. Really? Well, you went home. You went home. Nothing big about it. I just don't understand. Did not have enough in terms of programming. And the day of the vote, that's exactly what Tasha Diaz said. It did not have enough in terms of programming, Section 8 vouchers. It left out veterans and seniors. However, that's not necessarily true. I want to show you another video here. Actually, I'm going to show you a little bit more of the video. And I want you to hear John Rubel.
Yesterday, who said, this ordinance is planting trees that we'll never sit under. This is for our children or for our grandchildren. But this ordinance and affordable housing is needed now. So we need to act now. And how do you act now? It's not with this ordinance. We act now with programming that takes the existing housing stock that we have here in the city, and we make an investment into this housing stock. We create affordable housing. We create opportunities for people. Now, the city of Yonkers hired a well-known consultant. They've done work all across the country. They've written affordable housing.
Again, he says that they need to take the old housing stock, he knows they need affordable housing, but the affordable housing was not the way. Well, we're many months past the vote, and still nothing has changed. Nothing has been done in terms of affordable housing, and there is a crisis. The crisis has been ongoing. It didn't start today, didn't start yesterday, a month ago. It didn't even start in the beginning of the year. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for Mr. Cater to get out of office so then you can come up with a nice affordable housing ordinance and leave him out? Is that what it is? Is that what it's all about? Making sure that Mike Cater is not a part of any housing ordinance that is put into legislation and passed. That's what it's all about. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for, Mr. Rubo? I want you to hear what he says that also if they had passed the ordinance, what it would have meant to developers. Like we care. At least I don't.
Ordinances for places like New Orleans and Detroit. And when they came in, they said, if you want to go to 20% affordable housing in all of your new market rate buildings, in order to do that, you would need to give density bonuses, meaning allow developers or builders to build 15% more units, and you'd have to go up to 50% tax abatement, 50% incentives for taxes, property taxes. And so in order to do any of that, in order for us to be able to offer more tax incentives, we need the mayor to be at the table. The mayor's the chairman of the IDA. The IDA, or Industrial Development Agency, they're the ones who provide the tax incentives. They're the ones who provide the tax abatements. So we need that partner. We need the mayor at the table. The mayor vetoed this original ordinance at 20%.
So he says, I'm sorry if I didn't play the video there, but you might have heard that there. He says that in order to pass this, we need the mayor's support. And obviously the mayor vetoed the new housing ordinance. So he's obviously not in support. So how would we be able to realistically have this ordinance passed and still have developers here in Yonkers, right? He says that according to an independent study, according to an independent study, in order to have a 20% housing ordinance, you would have to give an increase or a 50% tax abatement to developers on property tax, 50% discount. Also, that they would have to allow the developers to go higher in order to include more units. They would have to put in an additional 15% more units in order to make it work, in order to basically make money. I'm just telling you what it is. Okay. You make your I have my opinion, but please, you have your own opinion. Don't listen to what I think, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I mean, it's all about the developers. That's really what it is. It's about protecting the developers, protecting their interests, protecting their money, protecting their buddies, the contributors. If we look at the individuals who contribute to these campaigns, they are basically the developers. So who do they represent? And now another question. When we talk of terms of affordable housing, why is even John Rubel, Councilman Rubel, in that conversation? Why is he someone that's even having such an impact on it? The man has nothing, no knowledge, no understanding of what affordable housing is, what it's like to live in affordable housing, what it's like to grow up and struggle and not be able to pay your rent. And this is the person who shot down affordable housing for people who need it. What did the new affordable housing bill offer? Well, it would have set aside 20% of the units built in affordable housing developments for affordable housing. And this is for people who don't qualify. Again, Councilwoman Tasha Diaz, she talked about smoke and mirrors. But smoke and mirrors was what she was doing when she tried to confuse people and mix in low-income stuff with affordable housing stuff. Again, affordable housing and low-income are different. And there are lots of low-income housing here in Yonkers. The need is for affordable housing because rents are going up. And those who do not qualify for programming, those people that get stuck in that middle, we're in that awkward middle. It's like when I was going to college, they wouldn't give me, I wouldn't get free money because you do get free money if your parents don't make nothing, right? They wouldn't give me any real money. I had to take out loans because they said my mother made too much, a single mom of two, made too much to get any government assistance on the student loans or student college money. So, but obviously my mother could not afford to pay for the college. So we were forced into these loans. I was forced into student loans, right? So it's the same thing with people in this awkward position when it comes to housing. It's like they make, a certain amount of money, which is too much to qualify for rental assistance or, other programs, whatever subsidy programs they have there. But they don't make enough to actually pay for market rate apartments. Times are changing. Incomes are going. I should say, cost of living is going up. However, our incomes are remaining the stagnant. Right? It's a fight to get the minimum wage up, and even if we got it up to $15, $20, it would have to be literally at 30, 35, maybe 40, even $50 for minimum wage to truly be a living wage at the cost of living nowadays. And now you add these developers who are building these beautiful luxury market rate apartment buildings by the water. That's just going to increase the rent for all properties all around these developments, right? They say, hey, well, you know what? We want to attract people from the city too who may not find an apartment in the developments because they're all full and they maybe want, or maybe not want to be in a big building. We can fix up our multifamily homes around these developments and jack up the price, pushing people who live there for 20, 30 years out of the area and even out of Yonkers. So, this is not for low income people. It's not for people who qualify for vouchers or Section 8. So, for her to confuse it was really smoke and mirrors, and she was doing injustice to the people. And I think that was done purposely. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to share another video because I think I know why. I believe I know why she did this. And on the Yonkers Voice, Rose did ask me, because I did say that I did ask what was her gain. And he said, oh, do you believe she received something? I do. I actually do believe she received something. I actually, whether it was promise of, campaign funding, some financial material payment, or maybe an opportunity to make money. How? Well, by introducing her own people to do developments and aligning herself with some developer where she can make money. And I'm not saying this is what's happening. I'm just throwing out possibilities. Now, this is the most recent interview that Tasha Diaz did on the Yonkers Voice. I believe it's about 2, 3, 4 days ago, or 5 days ago now.
So we're here to answer and educate and give you any insights that you need pertaining to affordable housing.
Listen carefully to what she says.
Community. So this is why we're here discussing this here on his platform. So from here on, I want to pass it over to Mr. Leverett so he can introduce himself and actually give us a little bit of insight of affordable housing.
Hello, thank you, Tasha. My name is Donnell Leverett. I represent a group. Part of my company is Empire Development Capital Holdings. We specialize in doing development in affordable housing. I'm in a partnership with More Development, who's also been doing affordable housing for 20 or 30 years. And we're here also trying to do an affordable housing project in Yonkers, but I just wanted to talk about some of the differences in affordable housing that's here. So one of the things that are unique, I think that's unique to our project that we're trying to do is we're a total 100% affordable project. So what does that mean, 100 total affordable 100% project? So I know in Yonkers you have a lot of projects that's going up on the waterfront in different places. Those projects are usually market rate projects with an affordable housing component, or luxury housing with affordable housing component, which is good because you have development that's going up. But when you have development up that's going up with a component, just to do simple numbers, say that development is putting up 100 units and 10% or 20% is set aside for affordable housing, that provides you only 10 or 20 units. Now, 10 or 20 units as out of a 100-unit building, whereas when we do a project, we're doing 177 units. 177 units are total affordable. Now, I also would like to talk about affordability because that's a big range to people. So, affordable, when we usually talk about affordable, just to put it in number sense, we're usually talking about incomes ranging from 25,000 to around 110,000 dollars. So when you do these type projects, I'm just going to use some words that to familiarize people with. It's the big word is called AMIs. That's annual median income. Now, the AMIs determines the affordability for the projects and what they're set at. So, for example, in Yonkers, I believe the annual the average the median income is like around maybe $93,000 because they take into account of the whole Westchester. So at 100% AMI, that's the norm. That's setting you at like 93 or so.
Right. So when people, not to interrupt you, but right, when people say, why don't you change the AMI? They don't realize that it's based on the county. It's not based on
Yes.
the actual city.
Yeah, so the AMIs is set by the federal government, HUD. But when they set it for the whole county
Correct.
of Westchester County. So it's
Let me tell you what he's saying there, because he's taking a little bit long to do that. Basically, the AMI is the average median income of a particular area. So Yonkers uses the Westchester AMI, which is so they average out the entire county as opposed to Yonkers. He's saying basically because they use the county and just Yonkers, the AMI is going to be higher, right? So that's going to affect people. However, had they passed the ordinance, Tasha, that was in there, that would have actually changed the income eligibility, and I will read it to you what it would have changed to. So, and actually it would have actually, well, I'm going to tell you, those making between 66 and 80% of the AMI, developers were now going to have to set aside 40% instead of 20% of the units, and those making 81% to 100% of the AMI would have 20% of the units set aside instead of 40%. So the developers were setting more units aside for those who were on the higher end of the AMI. And the actual AMI, I think the medium is 127, if I'm not mistaken. I can look that up. Between 127 and 147 is actual medium. I believe the gentleman there said like 100 or 110,000 is actually higher than that. So it would have it would allowed for more housing stock for those who are making less than $100,000 instead of the way it has it now, where a majority of the affordable housing units, as it stands now, go towards those who are on the higher end of the AMI. So leaving out a certain segment of the population that may around, let's say, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. But again, this is also something that could have been tweaked. We could have also worked on changing the AMI to a Yonkers AMI. But then again, if that is done, who will be the one that determines the Yonkers AMI? And that is a fear that a county legislator had, one who I spoke to regarding this. Would it be a good idea to change it from a Westchester County AMI to a Yonkers AMI? The answer I got was no, because then it would be under the control of whoever was in power in the city. As it stands now, the AMI is determined by the federal government. So there are no interests or local interests that can potentially corrupt that number, which I thought was a good idea. Now, again, I understand with that part. And, are people still fit into that AMI category? Are they still, able to afford it? It was a step in the right direction, and people are able to afford it because the apartments are filling up. And as they stand now, they still have to include 10% of affordable housing in the developments. So there's still people or individuals there who qualify for affordable housing moving in. Let's not, makes it seem like everybody is in need of low income housing, or everybody's at the $30,000 income or a $20,000 income. But yes, there are individuals who do make that much, and there are individuals who are homeless. That also needs to be addressed. But this was talking specifically about affordable housing, which too is a need. It is one of several housing needs. Yes, low income is there's a need for it. However, there are a lot of programs and a lot of properties and housing city-owned housing, state or whatever, different municipality-owned housing available for those who need it. These are individuals who are not generating much of an income, if any at all. And they do have programs for women who are in abuse or domestic abuse situations, which she mentioned. They are put to the front of the line. They are giving special consideration, as they should. So these things are already in there, Councilwoman Diaz. This was a stall tactic. Now, was the gentleman that you have there next to you, the brother from Empire Development Capital Holdings, your buddy, developer? Seems like every elected official has a buddy developer. Is he the one that's going to feed the need? Because what I looked into this gentleman, and I looked into Empire Development Housing, or I should say Capital, they are actually what's known as a, what they do is actually build condo or co-ops, affordable housing co-ops, which people buy. So in the video, they talk about home ownership there in that interview. And they've mentioned this, and Councilman Rubel has as well, a pathway to home ownership. Let's get people on a pathway to home ownership. How about let's get people in an apartment first? Let's look at where we are with the economy. How many people can afford to buy a home right now? How many people think it's smart to move into or go into a home buying situation? Not too many. Not too many are in that position now with the economy. And we're looking at a lockdown. That means that people are not going to be working. More jobs will be lost. So for her to say that this is a great idea because this gentleman builds a specific affordable housing development that's 100% total affordable, seems like all your concern is working out some business deal for yourself. You're bringing in your buddy with his nonprofit to buy up city property, if there are any left, or city land, so he can develop it. And where will they be? Another problem I have with this, increasing the ordinance would allow for some of these waterfront buildings to have affordable housing unit, more affordable housing units, so more people who are not making a certain X amount of dollars can live by the water. You don't make over 150,000. You can't live by the water. Go up no downhill. That's where you belong. So where's this guy going to build these affordable housing? Where's he going to build his lovely co-ops that people have to buy? And in fact, these are co-ops for individuals who have liquidity. In my research and in reading up on the company that Empire Development Capital Holdings is tied to, it says that those who would qualify for that type of situation would need to have liquidity, meaning they would need to have cash available for a down payment. So how many of your constituents, Councilwoman Diaz, are going to have down payments for these co-ops your buddy developer there wants to bring to the city of Yonkers? And how long is it going to take? We need them now. We needed them yesterday. So now I'm starting to see what the real is. I'm starting to understand why you voted no. You voted no, so then you can present this option with this gentleman. I would have respected it more if you had voted to override the veto, because this could have been a part of increasing the affordable housing stock. Because as I mentioned before, simply increasing the ordinance is not enough, but it's a start. And you stalled it. And if it passes next year, great, because we need it. But it will also tell me that you don't care about the constituents. You will play with their lives for your benefit. You will play with their lives in order to take out one of your political opponents. Actually, it wasn't your opponent. It was your handler's opponent. But you did their bidding. And now you got Mr. Donnell Leverett in the city of Yonkers looking to buy a property or rehab existing stock. Is he going to get the asbestos out, the mold? By the way, does he know what he's doing? We want to make sure they're safe. Just because you can't afford to live in the luxury apartments on the water doesn't mean you belong in the hood in an unsafe development. We need to really do our due diligence. The city of Yonkers should present us with information on these developers who are coming into Yonkers. Who are they? How do they seek to benefit the city? How will the city benefit? That's all we should be asking. Okay, how are we going to benefit? Okay, how will we benefit? Yeah, that sounds nice, but how are we going to benefit? How are the people of Yonkers going to benefit? Those that live on the southwest side, those that live on the northeast side, northwest, southwest, southeast. Because the developments are impacting everyone. And I hope you understand that. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. If you didn't watch those interviews, check them out. I just wanted to come on real quick and point that out. I see what the deal is here. I see why you voted no. You don't care about the constituents. You don't. You don't. And you should have came on my platform because you act real tough. Should have been bold enough. Wasn't going to bite you. Don't forget, folks, join me tomorrow night for part 2 of Yonkers, Latinos de Yonkers, I should say. And check out for Santa Claus. I hear he might be in town handing out gifts in his red sleigh. The one with the black spoiler on it. Check out Santa Claus. He'll be right around Yonkers, sponsored by Push, the People United for Social Honor, a local nonprofit here in Yonkers doing a lot. Check them out. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Tune in tomorrow night. Latinos de Yonkers, part 2.